Uzi Rubin, the very first director of the Israeli Missile Defense Organization. It's great to have you with us, sir, today. Israel keeps all its options open when it comes to Iran's suspected activity of making a nuclear bomb, including a war. But could Israel actually go to war with Iran without relying on the United States?
I'm in the Department of Opinions, but I think the real question here is what is the Israeli concern? Why is Israel so concerned? And if, in your permission, I'd like to explain that in a few words to the listeners. The Iranian nuclear program has three components. One component is commercial power generation, which I think no one has a problem with. The second part, which is more problematic, is the enriching of raw nuclear materials into higher grade materials. And this is dual-use technology. Here the problem starts. Again, this is legitimate. But the purpose here is questionable on our side because Iran could have bought that enriched uranium from the supplier of the nuclear installation itself. Russia offered it to her. So why they need this independence is questionable. It's legitimate but problematic. The third part is a suspected military nuclear program, which the Iranians deny. And here is the problem. They denied even in the beginning that they are going to enrich. The denial here is quite a problem. This is one part of it. The other part of it, which I think concerns the Israeli public, is the Iranian avowed policy of having Israel disappear from the map. I mean, this is when I'm quoting it, that Israel should disappear from the map or should be wiped up from the annals of history.
But I mean, many Iranian experts would argue, and I had one right before you, he said that that was just a rhetoric. I understand that it's more than just a rhetoric, but...
The question is whether, again, is it just rhetoric? I mean, they're not saying Israel should be wiped off, but don't think about it. This is just a rhetoric, we have to say. You have to realize that the Israeli public is really concerned. Here is a regime which is avowed in its policy that Israel should disappear, not saying that Iran will destroy Israel, but Israel should disappear, and running a suspected nuclear program. This combination of the two is the privilege that causes the great stress in Israel. So this is the debate. This is the debate here. What's the best course of action? Whether to rely on international action or on unilateral action. What should be done, I don't know, but this is the discussion.
Obama, though, so far has said no on Israel's strike to Iran. I know that the majority of Israel's military establishment is actually also warning against such attack. The only two people really building up this rhetoric at this point is the Prime Minister Netanyahu and the Defense Minister Ehud Barak. Why would they want a war when 61% of Israel's population is actually against it, in your personal opinion?
Well, there's an enigma and a question here. Do they really want a war?
What do you think?
They are described as that way, but you have to realize also it's a policy of the brinkmanship which brought up to now results that from Israel's point of view were better than before. I mean, the problem was not neglected. The question is really, is our political leadership going really advocating or think that war is inevitable? I'm not sure about it. Nobody knows that. That's in their minds.
So it's kind of the same as Ahmadinejad coming out and saying Israel should be wiped off the map. No one really knows if he means it or if he's really...
Of course, if the Iranians are worried, I say again, we don't say that we should go to war, but this is just rhetoric. Again, our political level, you have to take it very precisely. They don't advocate going to war. They're going to advocate going to war if it's the last resort. And the question is it now a situation of last resort? This is not clear.
Well, there is a nuclear Iran. There is a war with Iran. Is there even a third option for Israel?
I think the international community, the West and the rest of the international community will come to such a situation with Iran where it will be clear that the Iranians will not be able to nuclearize, to military nuclearize. This will be clear, even if the Iranians don't admit it, but it's a very clear situation that there is some kind of a red line beyond which the Iranians will be curbed this way or that way. It may, this may be the third way.
Do you personally believe that Iran is trying to make a nuclear bomb and it will get it anytime soon or not soon?
Let me say this. The only other country that comes to mind that is in a similar situation is Japan, which actually has all the capability of becoming a nuclear country if it wants, just like that. But Japan has been sued. Japan is a very peaceful country today. Obviously, Japan has no intention to nuclearize unless there is some kind of drastic situation which will force it to. While Iran, again, we are seeing, from our point of view, a regime which is very belligerent, at least in our direction. And to think that this kind of regime with this kind of extremism will have the capability to enrich without implementing the military side of it seems to stretch credibility here, stretch imagination. I'd say logically, if they don't have a nuclear program, they are probably thinking very hard about it, and I would be very surprised if they are not having a nuclear program. Logic says that they should have one, although they deny it, of course.
Well, at the moment, Iran has 0 nuclear weapons. I think everyone would agree on that. The United States has 1,000, Israel maybe hundreds. The United States have deterred Iran for decades. Why assume that deterrence would suddenly stop to work?
Well, because I think one shouldn't be misled by the deterrence situation. I think from the United States point of view, if you look at the balance between a country like Iran and a country like the United States, there is over-deterrence by the United States. What are the conditions for the United States to use nuclear weapons against Iran? So there is kind of an over-deterrence, which turns into no deterrence, in my opinion. Iranian can sit back and think, quite really, the Americans will not use nuclear weapons against us, no matter what, because they don't pass a threshold which justifies it.
Now, you, of course, were one of the key personalities to help develop and deploy Israel's Arrow missile defense system. Iran's only threat to Israel at this point is conventional weapons. How much harm can Iran really do to Israel if it has to retaliate for Israeli attack?
Well,
you know about this stuff.
Yes, I can give you my own evaluation. I think the Iranian missile, non-nuclear missile threat on Israel is not existential. I mean, Israel will continue to be and act and function, but it will cause damage and probably casualties. How many and what damage? I cannot, I mean, all those estimates, I know how those estimates are made. They are very sensitive to assumptions, and you can get results which are very severe or results which are very light, really. But one key thing I can say, you take for example a previous rocket attack on Israel in 1991. We had very few casualties, few dozen wounded. We had very limited damage. But for 3 weeks the country stopped there. That was damage enough. So if you're talking about the physical damage from Iranian attack, it could be light, could be severe, I don't know. But if you're talking about economic damage, I think it will be considerable.
But at this point, what are Israel's capabilities to intercept Iran's missiles?
Well, we have a problem. We have now a system in place. The Arrow weapon system is operational. I think it's capable. We test it for time after time, and every time we test it, it's usually successful. So I think it will offer resistance. It will offer defense. Mainly, defense will be, in my opinion, if our decision maker will make the right decision, it will be the defense of our military and economical targets. Not so much of the population, although in Israel the population, military and economic sides are all encompassed together, but the emphasis will be to preserve national infrastructure and national military installation and give additional protection to the population as far as possible.
You know, to many it seems obvious that if, God forbid, there is war between Israel and Iran, Hezbollah and Hamas will actually side with Iran. Would Israel be able to withstand war on two fronts?
Well, if we are talking about exchange of rocket attacks, remember that I think it will not be one-sided. And it will be a slugfest, exchange of blows and kind of an attritional exchange for a time. How long, I don't know. How it will be stopped, what is the end, the exit game, again, I don't know. But I think we can withstand it, although with great damage and great loss and great economical loss. But if you think that, if the question was can we withstand it, I have no doubt that we can.
Now, over the past year, Israel has lost Egypt as its ally in the region. Same thing going on with Turkey right now. If Obama wins the second term, he's not very keen on backing Netanyahu in whatever he wants to do. Do you feel like Israel is starting to be internationally isolated? Are you fearing that?
Well, of course there is a concern in Israel about what happened in the Arab world, but let me say that losing Egypt as an ally is kind of an overstatement. Egypt was not an ally. Egypt was a country at peace with Israel.
Well, that's already a lot for the region.
That's a lot, and Egypt continues to be a country at peace with Israel. If you follow the latest development in the Sinai, how the Egyptians behaved, and I think they behaved very correctly. We have some joint interest of seeing that the Sinai is stable, and in this respect I don't think there is any change in the situation as of today. Jordan is at peace with us. There is a problem with Syria, and really no one knows what's going to happen there. And if you ask Israelis, is it good for Israel if there is beer regime change or not, you'll hear all kinds of opinions.
Well, what do you think?
I don't know.
What's better for Israel, Assad to stay or to go?
Better for Israel is always to have a democracy with the full process, and I think it brings out the best in nation.
Yeah, Assad, that's better for everyone, but
Assad,
that's not the case.
This is kind of a general answer, but Assad regime, the Assad dynasty regime, because we are talking about Assad the father and Assad the son, had a ceasefire agreement to judge which they strictly kept. We had peace and quiet along the Golan border, Golan ceasefire line. Although, of course, the other side of it, the Hezbollah, was greatly aided by the Assad regime, especially by the present regime, Assad the son, younger Assad. What's behind the Assad regime, we don't know. Could be better, could be worse. We have no idea. It depends on how things change up and who is in power. Really, we are just spectators here.
Uzi Rubin, thank you very much for this interview.
You are welcome.